The ecosystem. Talking about an ecosystem when designing a business model may sound unexpected. The analogy is, however, not accidental. In ecology, an ecosystem offers more or less favorable living conditions for the organisms inhabiting it. These conditions are called the biotope and mainly refer to environmental characteristics such as climate, biodiversity, and demographics. The ecosystem is a broader notion because it also includes organisms and what links them. Before discussing how all this works, let's continue with the biotope analogy. In order to understand the biotope of a business, 6 dimensions need to be observed: political, economic, sociological, technological, environmental, and legal. This analysis is thus called PESTEL. An observation of these 6 dimensions may be very informative about the following factors, the list of which is non-exhaustive. Among other things, political conditions refer to the decisions taken by national or international authorities on budgetary and fiscal questions, the stability of these policies, and consequently the risks of favorable or unfavorable changes. Economic conditions include all of the indicators to assess interest rates on loans granted to businesses or individuals, the growth of the invested area, the unemployment rate, the purchasing power of individuals, and many other factors. Sociological conditions concern the level of education of the population, distribution of revenue, social mobility, demographics, cultural elements, behaviors, etc. Technological conditions correspond to research and development discoveries, the financing of such research and its application in the public sphere, resource exploitation methods and technological channels used for the flow of information, money, materials, and goods. Ecological conditions refers to the climate, natural resources, energy exploitation, and respect of the environment. Finally, legal conditions refer to laws and regulations concerning work, markets, property, consumers, safety, and anything that brings a legal framework to the previous conditions. All these conditions affect business. As such, it is wise to measure their influence today, but also to assess potential developments to imagine future living conditions and thus design a viable business model. The implemented monitoring tools help make the decision as to whether one should engage in the ecosystem or not, make the project evolve, or sometimes abort it. Let's now have a look at the architecture of this ecosystem which, besides the biotope, involves the stakeholders and their interrelationships. The stakeholders include the players involved, the competing parties, and, according to the delineated limits of the ecosystem, other parties who are less concerned by the business, at least in appearance. Interrelations take the form of various exchanges. They may be of different volumes, durations, and follow conventions more or less. Such exchanges can be seen in the light of the value of things, with all the subjectivity this implies. In some cases, though, the need to survive makes reality more objective for the interested party. Beyond this extreme case, which still occurs far too often, in a developed society, it is the search for better personal and professional living conditions that motivates exchanges of all kinds. Love, money, power, friendship, safety, health, etc. While there may be parasites taking advantage of the system without contributing anything to it, each stakeholder generally contributes to the supply of collectively shared value. For example, the distribution network also produces value adding up to the value manufactured by the company, just as the latter adds value to the combined resources to produce its offer. More concretely, a distributor promoting a company's product in an advertising campaign hopes to add value to it by making it more desirable. Other stakeholders are involved in the exchange value in the activity sector. This is what some call the business ecosystem. More broadly speaking, multiple exchanges of various kinds occur within the ecosystem to meet the expectations of all. The consumer brings revenue to his local shops in exchange for the purchased products. He is also an employee of an organization paying him and offering him certain working conditions. If we stay in the business ecosystem, let's consider that this consumer is also a citizen. Through this status, he brings power to the elected representative by voting for him. In return, he expects that the elected representative will improve his life in the city. Should this type of exchange be considered in the design of a business model? This question is not absurd when the entrepreneur is looking for a location to facilitate access to resources. In return, the location will impose constraints in terms of taxation. However, this location is governed by the elected representatives who set taxation rates. Many other examples could be used to justify responsible entrepreneurship in tune with an environment that extends beyond the strict business frame. To conclude, a business should definitely be in harmony with its ecosystem, which does not mean it must adapt to it. A business model may be more or less innovative.